Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Carrie, and I'm here with Robert, who does historical tours of Greater Holyoke. He gives both public and private tours of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, Chicopee, and South Hadley, Mass. You can find out more information about his tours on his website at holyokecanaltours.org, or you can email him at his email, which is bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. Again, that's BOBCAT4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. So, Robert, this podcast we're going to be talking about the Chestnut Street in Holyoke, Mass. So, why is Chestnut Street your favorite street in Holyoke?
Because there's many institutions on it, and they're various. So if you look at something like High Street, it's mostly retail. If you look at other streets, it's mostly residential. But Chestnut is institutions. There's a small amount of homes on it, and it's a very beautiful look to it. Also, I went to high school along that street. I go to the library there almost every day, so I've gotten used to it. I've probably gone up or down Chestnut Street maybe 5,000 times in my life. So I've come to know it very, very well. So what I do on Chestnut Street is I give a tour, and I start at the Veterans Park. And at Veterans Park, we go towards the south. We go half block or full block each time. And I talk about all the buildings along the way. What do you see along there? Well, you see the St. Jerome's Church. You see the St. Jerome's schools, the beautiful Veterans Park with all those memorials and the post office, and the old Central Fire Station. You see also a hint of City Hall coming through. And then as you work up, you start to see some funeral homes, the Victory Theater, where I went a few times for movies. You see James Newton's house, which is going to turn 150 years old this year. As you go up, you start to see beautiful Congregational Church on Maple Street. Along the next segment of Chestnut Street, you have a residential section, including the Carlton. And then as you go up, you see the library, and across the street, you see the beautiful Masonic Temple and the former Presbyterian Church. And then as you keep going up, you would have seen the Perpetual Help campus. It's all gone out because of fire in 1998. You see the Lawrence School, and then if you go up a couple blocks from there, you see at the very end the Sacred Heart Church campus, which is the Rectory Auditorium, and the church is still there. So it's a nice place to be, and a lot of people enjoy walking up it. Next question.
Now, tell us about your 2023 research project on 159 Chestnut Street.
Well, started in 2022, I started a house in Holyoke project. And at that point, I started into a house that was on Linden Street, and that had a long history of people that lived there that served the community of Holyoke greatly. For instance, one family that lived there was called the Sells family, and they were 3 doctors, mother, father, and son, and they helped start up what was called the milk station, which gave out free milk to children that needed it. Another family that lived there started the National Blank Book, and they lived there, and they actually hired the Olmsted brothers to come in. So this year, 2023, my home project that will be part of the series is at 159 Chestnut Street. And it had 3 owners through time. The first one was James Newton, who was the most important person in the history of Holyoke itself. He was the billionaires compared to the millionaires that were in the mills. What did he do? Well, he started up with his 3 other brothers 30 of the mills around Holyoke. And I would guess there were at its greatest about 80 mills around Holyoke. They started up 30, and what that means is they financed or ran them or built them, or sometimes 2 or 3 of those at the same time. This James Newton started his own mill called the Chemical Paper Company. His brothers started many other companies, and their story has been told in other places. The next group that come in was, for only about 5 years, was the Holyoke Club, which was a club for men. They were of the highest social stratus. They built a connection between the house and the carriage house and back, which was their place that they can eat, and they had a billiard room in there. But they didn't last long. In 1916, who came in was the Holyoke Day Nursery, and they still exist in that building. So it's been 107 years that they have existed in Holyoke. They're probably the 10th daycare in Massachusetts itself. The group still takes care of about 60 kids per day. And it was started out by the Sisters of Providence. And they noticed that hospital care was not enough, which was their specialty. They needed also daycare. They had one wing for newborns, and they had another wing for children as they got older. And the sisters kept up with this through the years, and I believe they still own the building, the Providence Ministries. This is an incredible record, and since you had an owner over many years, that keeps the building in top shape. So this very old building, 150 years old, is in great shape, and it still is close to the original. A couple additions, but it's close to the original house and close to the original carriage house and back. So I hope to have this project has a presentation at the library, probably in the month of November of this year.
Now, how can people take this tour independently?
Well, you can go to my website and look up the street tours, and you come up to Chestnut Street and start out at the corner of Veterans Park, and you actually regress a bit going towards Lyman Street, and you can see a couple buildings there, including the former William Whiting School and a former Shaker home. Also, you'll see the gravestone of the first pastor, Jeremiah O'Callahan, at the southeast corner of St. Jerome's. But you can follow along this whole tour and take it yourself, because there's pictures that you can see what's next on every given block. There's text, and I'm going to add this year video of every one of the stops. Now, it's not just Chestnut Street. Along the way, there's two other tours that go in with it naturally. And that's the Veterans Park tour, so you can take a loop around Veterans Park, and that tour is also on my website. And you can take a loop around the Holyoke Public Library. That is not my tour, but it's rather on the Holyoke Public Library's website. So either way, you have a great way of looking at all of Chestnut Street.
Now, tell us about the area around the Holyoke Public Library.
Beautiful place. This started out in 1900 with the Holyoke Public Library put in place. But before that, buildings were starting to come in, including the Essex across the street, made in 1888, and the Maplewood Hotel on the Maple Street side of the Holyoke Library Park. You'll get to see also the Sons of Zion Synagogue, which is not the original occupant of that building at the southeast corner, but rather the French Protestant church was there, and they were bought out by the Sons of Zion. Across the street from the library park, you can see the Lawrence School, made in 1927, so it's going to be 100 years old soon. You can also see the Presbyterian Church, which was built in the style of Henry Hobson Richardson, the most famous architect in the United States history. He didn't actually build that church because he died the year before, but his associates loved his style so much that they came up with a design and built a lovely church. Masonic Temple is across the street from 1920s. And to follow the tour, go to the Holyoke Public Library Holy History page, and they have the tour written out, and also with pictures, and also with audio.
Now, tell us about your other street tours in Holyoke.
So this was my first street tour of Holyoke. And remember, I do reservoir, churches, cemeteries, parks, and I add along the way houses and streets. Why did I start with Chestnut Street? Well, I told you in the beginning. But I've gone on since then to High Street, and I gave a High Street tour 2 years ago, where the first 5 northernmost blocks of High Street, I've explained building by building what is there or was there, and that's 100 buildings I went through. That was incredible amount of research. And also this year, I'm going to add in a Maple Street tour, so you'll get to see all the institutions or homes along Maple Street explained. Also this year, I hope to have an Oak Street tour where I start at Mitchell and Avery Field in the northern section of Oak Street, and we go up maybe 7 blocks to the very top of Oak Street. I hope to have every one of the grid of streets explained at some point. That's a lot of streets, but every one of those streets does deserve to have a tour. So thank you for listening to this podcast, Chestnut Street.
Yep, and again, he does the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, which include the canals, churches, cemeteries, reservoirs, as well as parks and streets in Holyoke, Chicopee, and South Hadley, Mass. You can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org, which includes videos of his tours and more information, as well as an upcoming 2023 schedule eventually of his tours, and where you can set up either private tours as well. You can email him at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. Again, that's BOBCAT4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And thank you for joining us.